create heaven on earth. That's what man's been doing since the beginning. They're going to create it, right? I mean, God created it already, and then man chose to exercise free will and leave it. And then ever since then continues to think, no, God wants us to create it. Okay. Sure. Because this way you get to continue in your own will that got you thrown out of God's created paradise to begin with. So this is what the government, it's what the world loves. No, we're going to create it. We're going to create our utopia. Sure you are. Never happens though, does it? Never happens. Never will. Can you create something close to it? Sure, but you're not recognizing you're in the fallen world. Most people would take my message too as it's negative, a surrender. What are you talking? No, it's literally having to learn that what it is it that got you in trouble. And I believe it falls on this line for people that they can't imagine literally God bringing his kingdom that he already created. I mean, let's remember, what God created is his glory. Does he use man? Yes, he does. But he does not need man to create his kingdom that he already created. That's his glory. That's his. Not for man to take part in and not take part in the credit of it. But we seem to get it so twisted, and everybody gets on this path. Is this we create it? That's nowhere in the Bible. God told you not to attach to the world. God told you to have your heart and mind transformed. How can you have your heart and mind transformed? Only through the surrendering to God and realizing I'm not God. I cannot do this. That's actually the fast track to God's kingdom. And I don't mean God's kingdom in the sense that you die. I mean, it says he brings it to earth, not that man creates it and then he comes. It's that attitude of, if we build it, he will come. He needs you to stop trying to build it. But if you notice something, and this should be clearly obvious, it should be obvious to anybody that has common sense, that uses, logic. Why are there so many influencers? Well, everybody would say that, well, we have them on the left because the left knows what's best. We have them on the right because the right knows what's best. Okay, but why? Why have any at all? Why have any influencers at all? And then you'll have people at Hillsdale or the hoity-toity, wealthy, who say, well, we know best how that society should behave. Yeah, that's what the World Economic Forum has thought for a long time too. Those hoity-toities there. Oh, well, we know what's best. So it's everybody saying they know what it should look like and what it should be best. And clearly there's some obvious things here that are obviously wrong. Transgenderism on children, okay? There's some basics here. But why did it ever get to this place? Like, nobody asks themselves these questions. Well, you think, oh, no, it's just because the left. No, God, if we were doing something right, which the only answer to God that's right is full surrender. If you want to know what a role America is supposed to play, since everybody likes to say America's not in the Bible, I disagree. But what God is using America for is there will be a generation of your people at some point that will completely surrender to me. They will wise up enough to realize that I never needed you to create the kingdom in the fallen world. Just think about that for a second. Creating heaven on earth. Like, God gives you his spirit of being alive. But in Eden, they were born with the Spirit of God in them. That child has to go on to find God again. because of the separation, which people would say, oh, the separation ended now because Jesus came. No, Jesus only put a rip in it. It's still, you have to make the choice because he's still allowing you free will. And we've had every country, every nation, every leader that continues to say, well, we're going to do it differently, and some do it better than others, but none that truly would be, in my opinion, what God is looking for. He's looking for the people to surrender. I know it's a concept we don't consider. It's something Donald Trump absolutely would be against, which begs the question, why would I be saying it? Because that's what it took for a true transformation. If you want true transformation, it means surrendering to God. Will God continue to let the left and the right play their games and to have their influencers? Yeah, why do you need influencers? Because it's all people that think that they know best, yet they themselves don't surrender. See, in a world of, God's kingdom, there's nobody influencing anybody. There's no, because all the influence is wanting to dictate what a moral compass looks like. Charlie Kirk didn't have a moral compass. If he was about God's kingdom, he wouldn't have been a grifter. He wouldn't have been. Why do they put him up on a pedestal? Why does the Congress? Because they don't want God's kingdom. Do you think that some of these people don't realize that these influence operations are meant to keep you from God's kingdom? They are. Because they get a hold of you instead of God. Yet people will come along and say, but Charlie Kirk was directing people to God. No, he wasn't. He was directing people on how to behave, that women should know their place, women need to submit, totally against what God's law is about. You can't tell a woman to submit to man when they're supposed to submit to God. He was a false prophet. God purged him. And yet, what does this world do? They put him on a pedestal. So this is how misguided people are. Because they don't seek the shepherd. And see, eventually, the people that are saying the truth, and I'm not boasting in any way by saying this, I'm not, because I've lost so much. But it's because I follow God's will. And the people that truly are speaking the truth of what God wants will not be given a platform in this world. It doesn't matter. The Republicans won't want it and the Democrats won't want it. That's where they would both stand together. Because even Christians themselves would say, I'm not surrendering because I like this world, because I can have my wealth and I can tell myself that God gave it to me. Right? So I can stay in the Old Testament and say, God gave it to me. But why did God give it to them in the Old Testament? Because they were toddlers. What do you do to get proper behavior from a toddler? You give them gifts. You give them rewards. They were spiritually dead. They were spiritually immature. They were biblically immature. So God had to start all the way from scratch and keep moving on up, okay? He's always moving the people forward. In the Old Testament, yes, they were given rewards for keeping his rituals, for keeping for doing those things. That's why the people like the Pharisees had such issue with Jesus, because it's like, wait, you're not here to do it the way we want. You're not here to just hand us gifts. Jesus is like, no, I'm coming with a greater gift. A gift that for those that can receive it, they'll receive it and realize, no, this is your material wealth means nothing to God, nothing. It only meant something in the Old Testament because you were children then. I had an expectation that you grow, that you spiritually and biblically grow, so that I can change your heart and mind. And what you will find, but few people will understand, is that when the heart and mind are transformed, those people that follow me will tell the government, will tell the world, will tell the economic forum that you are all out of line, and every single one of you should surrender to God, because he is the only true greatness. He is the master of this universe, and he is the only one that creates heaven on earth.